Hey everyone, Karen here, also known as Vegan Cupid. In case you're not too familiar with who I am a vegan matchmaker and coach. And for the last 9 years, I have dedicated my life's work to connecting veg singles together. That's right. So I help people all over North America find love. And through my work, in person and online, I've been able to connect over 20,000 veg singles. So I'm super, super proud of that. And recently, I've had people asking me to, in my group, in my Find Veg Love Facebook group, I've had people asking me to share more love stories. And so Ellen is the first woman who came to mind because I've known her for many years. We have not met in person, believe it or not, but she is such an incredible and inspiring woman. So I really wanted to share her story. She has worked on so many amazing things. She's written cookbooks. She wrote a book about vegan sex that we'll talk about later, and she is just like super inspiring. And for me, I really believe that it's never too late to find love. You can find love at any stage, and it's all about your mindset and the energy that you're putting out there. And so we're going to talk a bit more about that. But yeah, so Ellen is amazing. She's been vegan for over 40 years. She's in her 60s. She looks like she's in her 30s. It's incredible, and she's just so amazing. And you will see how much zest for life that she has. And Troy, this is the first time that I meet him, so I'm really looking forward to getting to know him better. And so Ellen, please, introduce yourself, share a little bit about yourself, and Troy, you as well, please.
So the short story, first of all, thank you for that incredible introduction. I'm so humbled. I mean, your work is so amazing and important in our movement, especially. Six-time book author on health and fitness. Eat Vegan on $4 a Day was the first one, which kind of launched things in a big way. Kitchen Divided, Paleo Vegan, because I'm an athlete and just got tired of the whole paleo craze, so I veganized it. Then Vegan Fitness for Mortals, and then Vegan Sex was number 5. And then if that doesn't work out, Vegan for One is the 6th book. But yeah, just doing the whole vegan thing. Troy and I knew each other for a number of years. I would come to meetups at his house, and he would, kind of spontaneously introduce me to give a talk, the local person here. And he would say all these nice things when he would introduce me. And I kept thinking, why isn't there anybody in my life who feels this way, or let alone says these things? And just kind of blew it off and thought, okay, that's the way life is. So I'll let him finish up the rest of that story. But yeah, I'm also a nationally ranked sprinter. And before all the races shut down, I had placed in 199 5K or longer races for my age group since 2006, just on plans.
That's amazing.
Myself, yes, I've been a vegan for about 5 years. And in that process, obviously, it's kind of hard to be vegan in Sarasota and not know this special lady. I mean, she's a superstar. So we have vegan meetups, or we did back in those days, different restaurants, different groups. And I actually started a vegan meetup myself. It was called Vegan Potluck Celebration, because what I liked about the meetups is we were going to restaurants, but we weren't collaborating. We would all just go there and sit in our booths and wouldn't have a chance to kind of commingle. So I said, no, I want everybody to interact with one another at a vegan event. So I'm going to create my own. So we created Vegan Potluck Celebration in Sarasota, where I just opened it up to anyone, vegan, non-vegan, but the requirements were bring something vegan to share with others. And we would have a campfire. Sometimes we have music. We'd have some young people start throwing fire. The guitar would come out, and it looked like a hippie fest by the end of the night, but everyone had a good time, all ages, and just a lot of fun. And I actually kind of started that when I was married. I had been married for 12 years to a non-vegan, and, compatibility, we just weren't compatible. I mean, just super lady, a lot of, I can say nothing but great things about her, but the vegan, non-vegan thing is hard in a relationship, because your vegan side of you kind of takes over. It takes over your friends, it takes over your space. And if your spouse is not connected in with that, it makes it for a difficult relationship, or it becomes more difficult. So ultimately, we did agree mutually to end our marriage. 12 years and I became single again. And there's no shortage of ladies out there, but I met a lady that I had known for some time. She was non-vegan, and she became my girlfriend, and it wasn't working out. I mean, it was really difficult because I'm still involved with the vegan meetups and going to these events, and she wasn't plugged in, and that was hard for me. Meanwhile, I'd say, you know, you got to meet Ellen. She's here. I mean, she's fantastic, and she wrote a book, and so Ellen's actually signing and selling books to my girlfriend at my house at a vegan meetup, and I was telling her, we need to have her over. You know, this is something.
Let's go on a double date.
Ellen can find somebody, and you and I, and let's all kind of, you know, because she's my people. I mean, I want you to be, you know, want us to be more connected. And at the last time I had a meetup, Ellen tells me with my girlfriend in the kitchen, you know, I'm single. I'm looking for a vegan guy. And I kind of like.
I said, if you know anybody, let me know.
I was kind of like, look, I'm sorry, girlfriend, this isn't going to work out. You know, there's something else coming on the market here.
Wow.
Quite like, wasn't at all like that.
What's your story?
So I did say at this meetup, dear, if you happen to know of anybody, and he actually gave me a list of a couple of guys, and, you know, we talked about it.
We're all swarming around her.
So hear nothing for 2 weeks, and finally on Messenger I sent him a message. I go like, so how's my favorite vegan matchmaker? And he goes like, sadly my girlfriend broke up with me.
Not that sad.
Hey, wait, I thought I was your favorite vegan matchmaker, Ellen.
Well, you know, the local audience there, so right.
Sarasota market.
You know, he was, you know, actively working on it. It was the best prospect for matchmaking I could.
Well, I was really trying to solve her problem, and not really.
And yeah, and on that note, Ellen, so you had shared with me that quite some time ago, you had actually hired a local matchmaking company, and they had advised you to not write anything on your profile about you being vegan. And I was just like, you know, appalled that someone would actually tell you that. And so like, how did that make you feel?
Well, horrible, but, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. And I plunked over my $3,000 to the Sarasota Singles. And I don't mind saying the name, and I don't even know if they're still in business. I mean, I thought they did a great job of matching me up with people other than how we ate. And I think before you, I used, there was another one called Veg, I can't even remember the name of it. It was a free service. And, you know, some guy drove down from Ocala. So, and that's like, what, 2 hours away. And that just was not, I was not going to drive that far. I mean, I already drive too much anyway as it is. So, but, you know, I felt sad that they wouldn't include that, but they were probably right. There was nobody in the group. And, you know, after a while, I ended up becoming the girlfriend of a guy, and I tried to convert him. That was sort of my hope. But, you know, anytime there was any excuse for not being vegan or eating vegan, like, you know, card people were coming over to play cards, and, you know, he would go out and buy cheese, you know, cow cheese. And, you know, that anytime we ate out, he would never eat vegan. So, you know, that to me kind of just, it felt very sad. And, I just felt like there was never any way we would really stay connected, at least on a very intense level. There was just something missing. I couldn't quite put my finger on, well, I could, but it just, it fell apart for other reasons than that, but that was just one part of it. But what I did learn in the process, because there are so few men available, that he got to go into the matchmaking service for free, where women had to pay $3,000. So he was invited anytime he wanted to, and I assume that's after me as well, to go back into the pool of available men. So that's kind of what I was up against, and really just kind of, I had you know, the vegan world is kind of small, so I don't know who will be listening to this, but, you know, I did have a long distance relationship with a guy that was wonderful. And, you know, no secret there, because I've written about this, he was the inspiration for my book, Vegan Sex. And the whole thing about that, the short story was, I had had all these relationships up until the age of 62. I'm now 67. And we had it was my first vegan experience, and it was so different in terms of the duration and the physical experience, because every single one of my partners up until that point, at some point developed or had erectile dysfunction, which, as we now know, what's good for the heart is good for other parts. And so when you have good blood flow to the heart, you have good blood flow to the extremities as well, as your body requires it. So that just blew my mind. And I thought the world needs to know this, especially guys. And as the movie, The Game Changers, shows, they actually did a physical test with measuring the size of erectile inflation, shall we call it. And it was remarkably different. So that's what I was personally experiencing. And I was really the first to write about that in my own little testimonial there. So I think it's just so important on a lot of different levels. And I really wonder how many relationships could be saved if the guys were vegan. And it works for women too. We typically, because we're eating more fruits and vegetables, we're more lubricated. So we can go there if you want.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit more about that later. But yeah, I mean, being with someone who is vegan, you start on like a level playing field, and you really do have a much deeper connection. And, you know, I always tell people that some people are happy dating someone who's not vegan and it works for them, but it doesn't work for everyone, right? So to each their own. And so another thing that, you know, you had mentioned to me that I really wanted to touch upon, because a lot of people come to me thinking this exact same way that you said. And so you were saying, you know, that before you met Troy, that at this age, you know, at your age, that it's really tough, and that you think that women in particular put up with way too much to avoid loneliness. And then you said, even though we understand that not many will get married in our senior years, I find that some women tolerate more than they should just to be in a relationship. And so I'd like to explore that a bit more, because it's a thing. It definitely is, right? And that's why, again, this was my motivation, is I wanted people to see that you can find love at any age, that it's not too late. But of course, if you think it's too late, you're telling yourself it's too late, it's not going to happen, you're not going to meet anyone, you probably aren't. So for you, Ellen, I know that you're such a positive person, and so I'd love to hear a bit more about like, you know, where you were with what you meant when you shared your thoughts about that.
Well, my last relationship, I was really in denial about what was going on. I'm just, you know, weighing my words carefully about what I want to say. I mean, but it was not a healthy situation at all. It had really devolved. And, you know, sometimes people, as they age, they just run into these issues. They suffer not only physical impairments, but emotional ones too. And so some of these things play out, and if they don't get help for it, it just gets worse. And that's really where I was. And I finally, you know, had the strength to pull the plug, which was really hard, because in a lot of ways, being in a relationship, you know, as many of us joke at this age, okay, if we pair up with somebody, you know, you get your blood work done, and okay, we're STD free. And, you know, there's a lot of joking. The Villages, which is here in Florida, supposedly has the highest rate of STDs in the country. And it's mainly a senior above 55 community that's 100,000 people. So, you know, I've had friends who have moved there just for the ability to connect with, and the potential for having a relationship there, because you're just in such close proximity. But, you know, I just decided I would rather spend the rest of my life alone than in this last crazy relationship. And it wasn't healthy. And I had to kind of come to grips with that. So I really was not in the market. I was happy being on my own and really enjoying that. I mean, I've had different times of my life where I've been alone, and I'm okay with that. But, you know, I also recognize that at least my most creative work, and I feel productive and I have a better time if it can be in a healthy relationship. And trying to figure that one out is definitely complex. And certainly there's a lot of give and take that has to go on. My last marriage was to somebody who was not vegan and became increasingly displeased, not only that I was so committed to it, because he compared me to, he called me the vegan evangelist, which, you know, I guess is true, but we just didn't have that in common. And the cool thing about Troy is that we've discovered we've had so much in common. In fact, this was so bizarre. I mean, I told him always that he had me at vegan, but he really had me at runner. I found out that he had been running all these years, and we just found out recently, I don't know how we would discover this, I just sort of randomly mentioned that I did this half marathon here in Sarasota and had the best strawberry of my life at mile 10 because there was a woman standing in front of her house handing out strawberries. And he said, I did that same race. And so we just realized we had been at all these races probably and just never ran into each other. So I guess the message is, you know, find interests that you have. Sailing is another interest that we have both developed separately. And yeah.
Yeah, I concur. I think it's mutual interest is absolutely imperative. And I wasn't looking for a relationship. I mean, I even told her that when I said, we're going to be friends. I said, I've been in a relationship or married since I've been 20 years old. And it's going to be nice just to be, you know, not in a relationship, but I want friends. And you're like the best friend that I could possibly have. We have so much in common. We should be good friends. And it started out that we became, you know, better friends. And I just like, okay, whatever, it's gonna work. Things are gonna happen the way they're gonna happen. Whether that's just the way it works.
That's amazing. And just to go back a bit, Ellen, to what you said about, you know, for me, I always tell people that if you're and it's better to be single than being in a relationship that is just not working, right? There's a time and a place to be in a relationship. And it's also important to be happy being single by yourself, loving yourself, because once you're in that spot, you're in that headspace, you're confident, you're empowered, that's the kind of partner you're going to attract, right? And so I really think that that's why you two, you know, and tell me if I'm right, you finally came together. And yes, like many relationships start off as friendships, which is fantastic. But like, what do you think was like that moment when you both decided, okay, like there's definitely something more here? Do you think that perhaps, and Troy, you said you weren't looking for relationships. So do you think that perhaps you had your guard up, or like, what was it that you think that why you were telling yourself you didn't want a relationship, and then all of a sudden, like you got into a relationship? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. My mom has this quote. She said, it's better to be alone than be in a relationship and wish you were alone. So, you know, it's kind of like, okay, well, you know, there's times I was unhappily married for so long, and I felt trapped in that relationship because I was married and we had everything tied together, and it was just an absolute drain on my life. You know, it took a long time to kind of strategically get out of that relationship. So once you endure that and you get out of that, why would you want to even risk doing that again? You know, I was pretty clear. I don't want to go into another relationship. And that was my thought at that point.
Yeah. I mean, because love is all about taking risks, right? And a lot of people aren't willing to do that because you can get your heart broken and it really sucks. But again, if you're not putting yourself out there, you're not taking risks, then you could be really missing out on amazing people. So if you would have really truly told yourself, Troy, you absolutely do not want a relationship, like you would have been missing out big time, and you wouldn't have been in the relationship with Ellen right now, right? Thank you.
And that's a good point, because I am fairly open to ideas. You know, I just told myself, no, this is something I do not want to do. I want to take a breather. And you know, all my friends supported that idea. You know, I was kind of telling them, I since I've been 20, I've always been in a relationship, and I find that I'm happier when I'm not in relationship, except, you know, if it's the right relationship. So I think that's the big thing, because the right person is a value add to your life. and the wrong person is a depletion to your life. So obviously when you connect with somebody that's going to enhance the quality of your life, and you can enhance the quality of their life, that's a great relationship. And not just us, but I mean, I've had business relationships that were fantastic, and I have had business relationships that I'm so glad they're done. You know, I mean, it all depends on the person. It's not the relationship. It really depends on the person you're connected with.
Right. And it's really important to be able to, you know, we all go through bad relationships. We all have baggage. You know, as you get older, you have even more. But, you know, there's unfortunately a lot of people who hold on to, like, you know, past relationships to something bad that happened. And that prevents them from being able to find love because they are not able to let go. So it's super easy to have a bad marriage and be super jaded and pessimistic and, you know, just not, you know, it's easy to be like that, but that doesn't serve you. Right. And so both of you have overcome, you know, bad relationships, but you didn't let that stop you from being able to find love again. And that's why I truly believe that a lot of people are single. They can't let go. They have their guard up. They're telling themselves that they won't find love, that it's too late. I hear a lot that people saying that they're too picky, they're not willing to settle. And so that just, like, they're putting up blocks that's preventing them from finding someone amazing. And so you both have, like, the amazing attitude and the mindset, and, you know, that's probably why you finally you came together.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's really true. I know he said that he's going to move out to California and
From a monk.
right. So, and I had dated guys up until this point who said, you know, I have a commitment phobia. I mean, you know, I heard all the names, and, you know, it just was something I was willing to accept, that it just wasn't going to happen. And, you know, so be it, because I think Troy has been very successful in his real estate career here for 35 years. And once we started going out, even as friends, I realized that if we were ever going to have any kind of relationship beyond just friendship, that I needed to just be okay with whatever time he had available, because at this point, you know, he's very much into what he's been doing all this time. And, you know, I'm not going to come along and say, okay, let's just go sail to Tahiti. It wasn't going to happen. So I think just being able to accept people as they are, and for whatever time they can give, it's, at least I feel, it's just been amazing, the time that we've had together. And, you know, one thing that happened was with this whole COVID thing, my speaking tour got completely shut down for the next year. So I was already thinking about going into real estate, got my license, and we're now working together, which is even more time together, although we have separate offices and places where we work and stuff. So, but, you know, that's just something to kind of add to the mix. And it's been a whole lot of fun, and just kind of staying light about it and viewing this as, okay, we're just gonna have fun together. It doesn't need to be intense. We don't need to be married. Just spending time together, however we do it, as Troy likes to say, we're always about having adventures.
It's about
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I feel people put too much pressure on themselves and have, like, expectations on how a relationship should be. And a lot of people have unrealistic expectations, unfortunately. And, you know, that can cause problems. But definitely, you know, it's about keeping things light and fun, especially at the beginning, right? So I love that you say that, and I love how, you know, you two have shared so much in common. And so, had either of you dated someone vegan prior to each other, or were you always with non-vegan partners?
I was always with non-vegan partners.
And I only had the one that was long distance. So
Right.
frustrating on a lot of levels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you feel that it's, like, completely different?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it is almost the spiritual connection that you have. And I see it play out in so many ways, you know. Yeah, there's a bug inside the house, we'll take it outside. I mean, you know, what non-vegan does that? It does squish. Snakes, I don't know. We're working on snakes. We
Shut
close the door.
Yeah,
Snakes are not welcome.
Stay outside.
And we have a cat who, you know, is on day patrol anyway. But no, it's a lot of commonality, and he is so appreciative and grateful of the food I make.
I have a vegan chef at my footsteps. I mean, how could life get any better? Every meal's an amazing meal that would, like I said, this is like a silent auction dinner. You know, you would have to pay $1,000 to have what we have here. To have a vegan chef prepare this all the ways we do, and I just get to enjoy it. So what's not to be happy about in that relationship?
That's amazing.
He has no idea. I mean, like my past relationships, oh, what is this apple crisp stuff? You know, it's like, oh, we're having pasta again. I mean, you know, it's like, the reason I've written 6 cookbooks is because I was trying to find the ideal recipes that would satisfy all those past relationships. So I may not be writing any more cookbooks for a while. But yeah, it's so wonderful to have somebody who, I mean, I make oatmeal for breakfast and he's grateful and says thank you. And it's just, for me, that is a whole new experience.
That's amazing. It's the little things that count, right? The little things day to day that really make a difference. And so what advice would you have for people watching who are single, who don't think that it's possible to find that vegan partner because, you know, there's so little of us, and yes, it's true, but you know, it's not impossible. I've been able to help many people find love. But again, there's like wanting to find love, and there's like, you know, it's all about the energy, the time and the effort that you put into it. Right. And again, total mindset. So what advice would you have to people who are kind of feeling discouraged or frustrated and giving up hope that it can happen just like it happened to you two?
I wasn't looking for it. So, you know, I think that's one idea, is just the idea that, as you said, if you have an open mind and you're happy in your space, and I think happiness radiates happiness. So if you're a happy person, you're going to attract that energy back in your life. And if you're negative, you're gonna put a wall out there for others to not come through.
That's so true. And especially as activists, it's hard not to sometimes get depressed when you know, think about and participate in some of these activities. But I guess I would just say, you know, do what Troy did, organize a meetup. It's not that hard, although I know we're in strange times right now. So hopefully we'll get through this and the world will come back a little bit to normal so we can be comfortable in organizing these things and attracting our tribe. Because that's really what Troy did. He grew this community. I mean, Sarasota didn't even know it had a vegan community, I think, until, you know, he was doing all of this. And that's one of the reasons I would go to things over the years, because I wanted to just support it. And when you participate in activities you love, whether it's sailing or running or, you know, just find something you love. And hopefully that will attract people. And maybe you can convert others if they are not vegan. Just leading by example is always something I've tried to do, not only with my running and wearing vegan shirts at races to show that you actually do get an edge in terms of that, but just attracting people around you that are more like you, because that's typically who we pair off with.
That's amazing. That's really good advice. And that's the advice that I give to my clients as well, is you have to put yourself out there and you have to have that positive energy, because I really believe that we're magnets and we attract the energy we're putting out there 100%. If you're negative, no one's going to want to be around you. But if you're super upbeat and confident and happy, people really respond to that, and you'll find someone who is just like that. So yeah, I love your story. It's incredibly sweet and it's so inspiring. I really hope that, you know, it'll give people hope that it can happen, but you know, it can absolutely happen. You just have to have the right mindset, and you have to want it. So thank you so much again, Ellen and Troy. I can't wait to continue following your story, seeing where it goes, and yeah, keep doing what you're doing. You guys are really in a great spot. Keep having fun together, playing together, having great sex, and it'll be awesome.
Thank you so much, Karen. Appreciate it. Yep.
Thank you.